Today I would like to talk about parents. We all had parents or people who took care of us when we were children. And so there are those caregivers or parents who were supportive of us. But I think the majority of children do not have such parents. If that would be the case, our world would be a different place. So, because happiness, awakening, all of that, growing up, becoming an adult, which is able to be compassionate and have wisdom in order to come to that, we need to have a fertile ground, and the fertile ground for a child is the place where it grows up, the people who it grows up. So parents or whoever takes care of their child. Unfortunately, many parents are not that supportive to the child, not because they are necessarily have an ill will or do not care, but because many have their own problems. Many did not solve yet their own struggle and problems in life. Many do not know what is within their own psyche, all the shadows didn't wake up, didn't heal, transform in any way. Just continuing the life of their parents and the society, following the path of the society at any given time, what is opening to them, any path, that is the path they take. And that is okay. There is nothing, in a way, there is nothing wrong about this. This is the way it is. So there's nothing about to judge, but at the same time, if there is a way out of this, if there is a way to walk a better path, then we should take it if we see it. If we have the support to walk that path. So coming back to parenthood, toxic parenthood, parenting, and so parents who are emotionally unwise because they didn't work yet on their emotions enough, and using the children as as a help for their emotions. In psychology it is called parentification. So we entangle the child with us and build up codependency. And healthy attachment is what a child needs, is very important. A healthy attachment is an attachment that holds without being tight. So it's kind of a letting it be, but with not letting it go. So it's an opened, holding position of the hand rather than a fist around the child, or a leash even in many cases. So and then often parents do not support the child in what it wants, instead supporting the child in what they want. And if the child does not do what they want, then they are not happy, or they retreat with their love, so the love becomes a commodity. It's not unconditional. Unconditional love has conditions, but within itself, within its own power, and not mental or emotional conditions. So what do I mean by that? Well, if I truly feel loved by someone, truly feel seen by someone, I do not wish to harm that someone, and nobody needs to tell me that I shouldn't harm, because this is what naturally comes. Of course, there are exceptions to this, maybe, in the disposition of psychopathy, but that's another topic. And if there is a need, I would make a specific video for this, but I don't think so. So ideally, parents need to work on themselves rather than reading books, watching movies, videos, how to treat the child, what is the best for the child, what can I do for the child, where can I send it, here and there. The best thing we can do for our children, but also for society and for the world, is to work on ourselves first. Not in an egoic manner, I need to become the best version of myself or live out my potential, all this kind of things. That's not what I mean. But when we truly work on ourselves, we realize that all the world, everything is within ourselves. And we are in everything. No matter what we do, we are in everything and we influence everything. Not as a small self that we believe ourselves to be. But that is exactly the realization that we need. That we are not that small self. Because when we are within that frame of a small self, we are not even seeing it. We just see through that frame. We don't recognize anything beyond it because we are identified with that frame. And so whatever we do, even if we do therapy work or meditation, without a good teacher, without a good guide who can help us to see that frame, we just strengthen that frame. We strengthen that self-centered perception within ourselves. So my meditation, I had such a great meditation, I had such a great enlightenment, so much full of love and whatever. So that just empowers the frame, empowers the egocentrical self. And then, no matter how good our actions are, no matter how well intended, it ends up in more self-centered self. It ends up in more destruction on the long run. And that is why it's so important to really work on yourself first. And if you have already a child, then start working on yourself. Start really deeply looking at yourself by questioning whatever you believe yourself to be, and whatever you believe you attained already, or look at the triggers, look at whatever triggers you. Triggers are a good pointer usually, not always. Sometimes they just tell us to run away as fast as possible because there is a lion or something that will eat us, definitely, or a person who is malicious, and that's totally fine and totally right. We shouldn't always just look at ourselves. Sometimes it's just a real object or a subject that we need to attend to in the outside world. So if you had toxic parents, there are two options. One is that we become victims, and that is usually the first option all of us go through who had toxic parents. And now the first option is to stay in that victimhood, and the second option would be to use it as a wave on which we can ride, and use it as an energy, use it as a source of generating wisdom and compassion. And for that, any trauma, any form of hurt that we experienced, and all of us experience some form of hurt in life, can be used as a way for compassion and wisdom, and it's actually very important. So coming to parents who were not toxic, where you would say, wow, my parents were not toxic at all, they were so loving, so great, that here are two categories we can find. We can find the parents who are just loving and giving you everything you want and allowing you whatever you like, and are just basically kind of treating you like a prince, and but themselves are actually still unconscious. They just use you for their happiness. So as long as you are happy, they're happy. Well, in that case, this too is actually an unconscious toxicity parenting, way of parenting. And in a way, it is even worse than the one where we are aware that it is toxic, because it takes longer time, and sometimes we never actually realize it until it's too late that was the case. What happens when we have such parents is that we just follow along, we like them, we don't question anything, and we just become like them, but we don't become ourselves. We just follow their path and everybody else's path, because we have a healthy ego, we have a healthy personality. In the best case, in the worst case, we think we are little princess, and everyone is there for us to serve us. So that's the other extreme of it. But whatever happens, it's just that we made our prison cell nice looking, and we feel good in that prison cell, we feel comfortable in it, and we don't want to get free. We enjoy the illusion of life, and we don't see that it is an illusion. It's a very real illusion, I don't deny that, and we need to see that reality within that illusion. But we have to see that first, we have to recognize it, and for that suffering is great. Suffering is number one to realize. Without the suffering, we end up often in what the Tibetan Buddhists call the heavenly beings realm, which is actually a realm of hell. And it is considered to be the worst of its kind, because in such a realm of the heavenly beings, you do not see that you are actually living in hell. So you're still in that self-centered perception, trapped, but you feel good in it, and you learned how to be happy in it, and how to share that happiness maybe with some people also, with your family, or with your friends, or maybe even with the whole world. But it is a self-centered type of happiness, so it is not in any way has to do with awakening in Zen. So then, if you're lucky, if you're very, very lucky, you have parents who did work on themselves, who awakened deep enough and can critically self-reflect. Critically self-reflect means that they can not just see themselves, not just reflect themselves like you see yourself in the mirror, but also question, is that me? Is that really what happened? And live in that questioning. And living in the question doesn't mean that we are seeking something. Seeking is only the beginning. We need to seek in the beginning, but living in the question is actually a constant state of finding, because you are in a sphere of knowledge. You're bathing in a sphere of knowledge when you are within that I don't know mind. It's a state of mind It's not knowledge. It has nothing to do with knowing or not knowing. So having parents who like that, who are already this way, which is very, very rare, I think. And there are many, nowadays, even many awakened people, spiritually awakened, but most of those awakenings are just mental awakenings. They can tell you exactly what I'm telling you, but it's a lot of it is just copy-paste, read from a script. Often, one way to see, for me, one indicator if someone is really deeply awakened, is not deeper, but deeply, like on all dimensions, expanding. It doesn't mean that you're better than others. It's just that you become more others, become more everything. It's not about better, it's the opposite. So one indicator is that that person, when it's a teacher, improvises. It's not reading from a script, not preparing, cutting, making lots of pictures here and there and trying to convey to you something. It's really that letting go of the I am and just letting whatever information comes, speak them out. Just let them freely come and go. So ultimately, if you did not have parents like this, then you can be that parent. You can learn to be your own parent, and you can rewrite your past. And that is what we do in therapy work. That is what I do with my students, is that we basically relive the past first through the lens of the victim, which is important. You need to first be a victim consciously, with awareness, not just unconsciously. Unconsciously, you will not get anywhere too much. You will just generate more suffering, which then can help you to, at some point, break free. Again, of course, paradox in the paradox, as you know already from my work. So, consciously. And then once you did that, and the charge is gone, then we can move on and rewrite by activating what we already have inherent within us, which is the archetypical father and the archetypical mother. And so we connect to that, and ultimately we all have to go through, even those who had good parents, conscious parents, but those who had, they definitely will get it from them, because they know already, right? So they live it already, and they teach that to the child, but not just with words, not just with actions, but by being it. So the child naturally will have it, will have activated that archetypes within itself. That is it for today.